NFPA 13, Standard for the Installation of Sprinkler Systems, Section 25.58 requires that all piping be adequately supported in accordance with Chapter 3 of NFPA 13. Chapter 3 of NFPA 13 defines adequate support as support that prevents exceeding the maximum stresses allowed by the applicable requirements of this standard. NFPA 72, National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code, Section 12.34.2 requires that devices installed in suspended ceilings shall be independently supported from the ceiling grid or other building structure. Regarding the National Electrical Code or NEC 300.11 ATWO states that electrical equipment shall not be supported by conduits unless listed for the purpose. NEC 314.23d indicates that listed hangers or supports shall be used to support luminaires and their enclosures when such luminaires are not supported by the building structure. NEC 410.16c stipulates that receptacle outlets, other than those covered in 410.16 or b, shall not be supported by luminaires unless listed for the purpose. These NEC articles don't explicitly require independent support for devices in suspended ceilings. However, they do require that electrical equipment be supported in a manner that prevents excessive stresses. An authority having jurisdiction, or OJ's, interpretation that independent support is required may be based on a belief that suspended ceiling systems are not sufficiently robust to support the devices without independent support. This belief may be supported by the fact that suspended ceiling systems can be easily damaged or dislodged, which could lead to the devices falling and causing injury or damage. To resolve any issue regarding interpretation, contact the AHJ and discuss their interpretation of the NEC requirements. You can provide documentation reference to both to support the position that listed hangers or clips are sufficient support. If the AHJ is not convinced, you may need to provide additional documentation or testing to demonstrate that the suspended ceiling system is capable of supporting the devices without independent support. In this context, independent support typically refers to a support system that is directly attached to the building structure, rather than relying solely on the suspended ceiling grid. The concern arises from the potential for the suspended ceiling grid to fail or be compromised, leading to a loss of support for the attached equipment. The NEC aims to ensure electrical safety, and the AHJ has the authority to interpret and enforce the code based on local conditions and concerns. The NEC does not provide explicit instructions on how to make your case to the AHJ, so you must do some research to make a case for yourself. Firstly, understand the specific concerns of the AHJ regarding the suspended ceiling system in question. Are there known issues with the ceiling grid structural integrity or weight-bearing capacity? Is the AHJ concerned about the potential for seismic activity in the area? Understanding the underlying reasons for the AHJ stance is crucial for tailoring your response. Secondly, gather documentation and specifications for the suspended ceiling system, including the manufacturer's load ratings and installation guidelines. This information can help demonstrate that the ceiling system, when properly installed, is capable of supporting the intended load. Thirdly, provide documentation for the listed hangers and clips being used, including the load ratings in compliance with relevant safety standards. Ensure that the hangers and clips are appropriate for the type and weight of the equipment being supported. Fourthly, consider conducting load testing of the suspended ceiling system to demonstrate its ability to support the equipment without independent support. This testing should be performed by a qualified engineer and documented with detailed reports and calculations. Fifthly, if possible, provide examples of similar installations in the area that have been approved by the AHJ without independent support. This can help demonstrate that your proposed installation is consistent with local practices. Sixthly, be prepared to discuss alternative solutions or mitigation measures that can address the AHJ concerns. This may include reinforcing the ceiling grid, using additional hangers or supports, or relocating the equipment to a more structurally sound location. Seventhly, document all communication and agreements with the AHJ in writing, including meeting minutes, emails, and revised plans. This helps ensure that everyone is on the same page and that any changes or modifications are properly documented. Eighthly, If you're unable to reach a satisfactory resolution with the AHJ, consider appealing their decision to a higher authority such as a Building Code Appeals Board or a state electrical inspector. Ninthly, in cases where the AHJ insists on independent support, ensure that the support system is properly designed and installed in accordance with the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. Tenthly, consider hiring a qualified electrical engineer to review the installation and provide documentation to support your position. An engineer's stamp of approval can carry significant weight with the AHJ. Also, understand the NEC requirements for supporting electrical equipment. The NEC provides specific guidelines for supporting electrical equipment, including luminaires, receptacles, and other devices. These requirements are intended to ensure that equipment is securely supported and that the weight of the equipment does not create a hazard. Then research the specific requirements in your local jurisdiction. Local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or interpretations of the NEC that are more stringent than the national code. Be sure to check with your local building department or AHJ to determine the specific requirements in your area. Be respectful and professional in your communications with the AHJ. The AHJ is responsible for enforcing the electrical code and ensuring public safety. It is important to be respectful of their authority and to work collaboratively to find a solution that meets their requirements. Review NEC Articles 300.11, 314.23, and 410.16 closely. These articles address the support of electrical equipment, boxes, and luminaires. Understand the specific requirements outlined in these articles and how they apply to your situation. Next, consider the weight and size of the equipment being supported. The weight and size of the equipment will affect the type and number of supports required. Be sure to use supports that are adequately sized and rated for the weight of the equipment. Ensure the suspended ceiling system is properly installed. A properly installed suspended ceiling system is essential for providing adequate support for electrical equipment. Be sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions for installing the ceiling system and ensure that all components are properly secured. Verify the listing and labeling of hangers and clips. Listed hangers and clips have been tested and certified to meet specific safety standards. Be sure to use listed hangers and clips that are appropriate for the type and weight of equipment being supported. Also, provide documentation to the AHJ that demonstrates the suitability of the supports being used. This documentation may include manufacturer specifications, test reports, and engineering calculations. Then be prepared to discuss alternative support methods with the AHJ. If the AHJ is not convinced that the proposed support method is adequate, be prepared to discuss alternative methods such as independent support from the building structure. Also, document all discussions and agreements with the AHJ in writing. This documentation can be helpful in resolving any disputes that may arise later. Remember, the ultimate goal is to ensure that the electrical installation is safe and compliant with the NEC and local codes. By working collaboratively with the AHJ and providing adequate documentation, you can help achieve this goal. There are also several organizations that can provide guidance and support on NEC compliance, such as the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, the International Association of Electrical Inspectors, or IE, and the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, or NEMA. An AHJ stricter interpretation regarding independent support for devices in suspended ceilings often stems from concerns about the long-term reliability and safety of relying solely on the ceiling grid for support. Suspended ceilings are primarily designed for aesthetic and acoustic purposes, not as primary structural supports. Factors that contribute to this stricter interpretation include seismic activity. In areas prone to earthquakes, AHJ are more likely to require independent support to prevent equipment from falling during seismic events. Building codes in seismic zones often have stricter requirements for the support of non-structural elements, including suspended ceilings and the equipment attached to them. Secondly, there's the concern about the weight and type of equipment. Heavier or more critical equipment, such as exit lights, emergency lighting, and fire alarm devices may warrant independent support due to the potential consequences of their failure. AHJ may have specific guidelines or policies regarding the weight limits for equipment supported by suspended ceilings. Thirdly, there is the consideration for maintenance and modifications. Suspended ceilings are often subject to frequent maintenance, modifications, or rearrangements. These activities can potentially weaken the ceiling grid or dislodge equipment that is not independently supported. AHJ may require independent support to minimize the risk of equipment falling during maintenance activities. Fourthly, the AHJ may be considering historical issues. If there have been past incidents of equipment falling from suspended ceilings in the area, the AHJ may be more inclined to require independent support to prevent future occurrences. Fifthly, AHJ may interpret the NEC requirements more conservatively to ensure a higher level of safety and compliance. They may believe that independent support provides an additional layer of protection against potential hazards. Sixthly, the specific design and construction of the suspended ceiling system can influence the AHJ interpretation. Systems with weaker grids, inadequate support wires, or improper installation may raise concerns about their ability to support equipment. It's also important to know that AHJ have the authority to make interpretations of the NEC based on their understanding of the code and local conditions. Their interpretations are generally given deference by courts and other authorities. The responsibility to demonstrate that the proposed installation meets the intent of the NEC rests with the installer or contractor. This may involve providing documentation, test results, or engineering calculations to support the claim that the suspended ceiling system is capable of safely supporting the equipment. The phrase "listed for the purpose" is crucial in the NEC. If a product is listed for a specific purpose, it means that it has been tested and certified by a recognized testing laboratory to be safe and effective for that purpose. Using listed products can help ensure that the installation meets the requirements of the NEC and is safe for occupants. Listed hangers and clips specifically designed for supporting electrical equipment from suspended ceilings are available from various manufacturers. These products are typically designed to distribute the weight of the equipment evenly across the ceiling grid and to prevent the equipment from falling if the grid is damaged. When using listed hangers and clips, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and to ensure that the hangers and clips are properly sized for the weight of the equipment being supported. It is also important to inspect the hangers and clips regularly to ensure that they are in good condition and that they have not been damaged or dislodged. Remember that the NEC is a minimum safety standard, and AHJ may have more stringent requirements based on local conditions and concerns. It is always best to consult with the AHJ to determine the specific requirements for your project. Also, understand the role of the AHJ. The AHJ is responsible for interpreting and enforcing the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. They have the authority to approve or disapprove electrical installations based on their assessment of their safety and compliance. Establishing a good working relationship with the AHJ is essential for ensuring that your electrical installations are approved in a timely and efficient manner. Keep in mind that the AHJ primary concern is safety. The AHJ primary goal is to protect the public from electrical hazards. They may be more inclined to approve installations that exceed the minimum requirements of the NEC if they believe that this will enhance safety. Also, seek clarification when needed. If you are unsure about the AHJ interpretation of the NEC or other requirements, don't hesitate to ask for clarification. It is better to ask questions and get clarification upfront than to make assumptions that could lead to costly rework or delays. Also, consider attending local electrical code meetings. Many jurisdictions hold regular meetings where electrical contractors, engineers, and AHJ can discuss code issues and interpretations. Attending these meetings can help you stay up to date on the latest code developments and to understand the AHJ perspective on various issues. By understanding the AHJ concerns, providing adequate documentation, and working collaboratively to find solutions, you can help ensure that your electrical installations are approved and that they meet the highest standards of safety. Consider the specific requirements outlined in NEC Articles 300.11a, 314.23h, and 410.16c. These articles address the support of electrical equipment, outlet boxes, and luminaires. Pay close attention to the language used in these articles and how they apply to your specific situation. It is important to be aware of any potential conflicts between the NEC requirements and the AHA interpretation. If you believe that the AHA interpretation is inconsistent with the NEC, you may need to provide additional documentation or seek clarification from a qualified electrical engineer or code expert. It is also important to consider the impact of the AHA interpretation on the overall cost and schedule of the project. If the AHA requirements are significantly more stringent than the NEC, it could add significant costs and delays to the project. Be sure to factor these costs into your budget and schedule. Also, document all communication with the AHA in writing. This documentation can be helpful if you need to appeal the AHA decision or if any disputes arise later. By carefully considering these factors and working collaboratively with the AHA, you can help ensure that your electrical installations are safe, compliant, and cost-effective. Also, the NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay up to date on the latest code changes. The NFBA offers a variety of training and educational resources to help electrical professionals stay informed about the NEC. The fact that suspended ceiling systems can be easily damaged or dislodged, which could lead to the devices falling and causing injury or damage, is significant. Suspended ceilings are typically designed for aesthetic and acoustic purposes, not as primary structural supports. They are often made of lightweight materials and are supported by a grid of metal runners that are suspended from the building structure. If the ceiling grid is damaged or dislodged, it can cause the entire ceiling system to collapse, including any equipment that is attached to it. This is why AHA are often concerned about the safety of supporting electrical equipment from suspended ceilings. Consider the type of occupancy. The type of occupancy can also affect the AHA interpretation of the NEC requirements. For example, AHA may be more stringent about the support of electrical equipment in hospitals, schools, or other occupancies where there is a high risk of injury. Also, know the local amendments. Many jurisdictions adopt the NEC with local amendments. Be sure to check with your local building department to see if there are any local amendments that apply to your project.